and welcome to a casual conversation from the Institute of Natural Philosophy with me, Ricardo, and Phil. How are you, Phil, today?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, and extremely excited to talk about what we've got to look at this evening. I think it's as excited as I've been since the Institute has been made, even over the statement of significance, and that says something because we found a mapping system that actually shows exactly what we've been talking about. And this is one of the earliest maps that you're likely to come up against. This is from, is it 1375, Ricardo?
Exactly, 1375, exactly. It's called the Catalan Atlas, and it seems to be one of the very few from Spain. But that was not what captivated your attention, was it, Phil?
No. I mean, there's multiple things on this map that when we look into it in detail, not only corroborate exactly what we've been looking at and we've been trying to present, it shows this in a cartography aspect, a real detailed mapping system of exactly how these temples were orientated and more or less what they look like as well. So, yeah, I mean, some of the walls that we're finding, without further ado, rather than us tell you everything, we're going to have a look in detail into this, aren't we, Rick?
Yes, Phil. So let us delve a little bit into this map. As you can see here, we are watching the Iberian Peninsula, and at first you don't notice anything special. It's just a pretty old map. But when you start closing into the map, you start seeing some strange things, Phil.
Well, number one, you're going to look at a configuration of specific temples exactly configured over the ley lines that appear over this topography. And not only that, they are in a specific range, aren't they, Rick, where they're so very close to each other. And alongside that, we've also got water aspects that seem to functionalize these temples too. And even if it hasn't got that, there's still a temple close enough that communication would have been very prevalent. And this is what we were looking at, isn't it, Rick? Was the physical evidence there to suggest that you could communicate if they were close enough? And this map tells us that we were correct.
Absolutely. Not only that, it's showing all the characteristics that we've been discussing, from the circular courses of water that are either englobing a city or a specific building on like those that we have been discussing. We see that these towers are depicted curiously exactly the same. So I'm showing you one with a cross, so it's a Christian one. You come down into the North Africa and you see the difference is just that the top of the tower is a dome instead of being a cross. So
another factor alongside those temples with the domes, I mean, bear in mind, we're looking at North Africa here, is what's going on with the size of the wall that's going all the way across there. And then we've got to look at as well is one of these dome temples is encapsulated around that wall, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So these, again, are almost meticulously placed directly on the aspect ley lines.
Absolutely. And you see, for instance, in the image that I'm zooming in now, you see not only has a circular course of water around the ancient site, they also excavated 4 small river-like coursways that are also feeding the site itself, so they could perhaps lower and raise the level of the circle of the water within the circle, or the intensity of the water through the channels. As you can see across the wall, you see another major, so it's bigger than the other ones, temple that is dividing 2 lines of water that go, look at here, you have a mirrored on each side as an amplifier right here. So that's what you would use to amplify signal. You put 2 of them. So it's all over the place, and this is just one of the pages of this map that is full of curiosities. For instance, if I go into the north, you see another of those walls that is not depicted, and I don't know what they could mean, but Phil, look at this. You see the same semicircular area that we have found to be as an array antenna in modern...
almost stone circular. Almost stone circle-esque, isn't it? And then look at the amount of temples that are absolutely finely configured around that on specific ley lines directly. I mean, and they're identically built as well. You're not seeing anything any different there, are you? I mean, next to it, you've almost got a place with 3 towers, and then again somewhere with 1. But they're so close to each other that communication could have been a very viable aspect alongside how we're seeing water running around these temples in such a conducive way. I mean, look how they're positioned absolutely everywhere next to each other. So when we were saying specific messages could be passed quickly, I think we're onto a very viable mapping system that suggests we're correct here, Ricardo.
Absolutely. Look again, another circular area of water that probably won't be found today. You see, for instance, look at this one. This one is made in such a way that the water goes inside the structure itself. Can you see it?
Yeah, almost like it's subterranean to the actual tower above it. Hypergeum-esque, very hypergeum-esque.
It's like it's sending water underground in here. And then again, you find another of those walls that we for sure won't find it today. This will be repeated again. This is another theme that will be repeated in this map at least once. Do you see this point here? I will show them again in one of the next images. It will appear again in another place of the world, but again, completely artificial in the making. So this is very, very intriguing. Let me move forward a page. Look, the structure, Phil, you want to comment on it? The continuation and the bifurcation as a trident.
Well, this is what we're kind of feeling, isn't it, Rick? That continuation and how that comes off as a trident would be your trident of frequencies using the mineralogy of stone, and how the temples were segregated would have used, you know, a complete engineering schematic to have used exactly what we've been talking about. And look what's placed next to it. Almost like somebody at peace, a Buddha that's like really chilled out, that, you know, knows that everything's in place. All these specific temples that can communicate with each other in order. They seem as if they are geometrically placed perfectly.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at that. I mean, it's absolutely in detail as well. And, you know, to find a trident that actually points out along the wall across North Africa that shows that communication through temples that actually sit geometrically correctly in early mapping systems is something absolutely phenomenal, Ricardo.
Absolutely. And you see, as soon as you come out of drier areas where you don't see as many structures here, you see a wall. Perhaps they needed a wall because of the absence of temples that don't have water on this area. Would be an explanation for me. You see them returning as soon as there's water. Look at the Nile.
Yeah, absolutely covered from top to bottom, isn't it, mate?
You look, a big one on the convergence. It's a larger one again, and look, another one, circular area, and then this Red Sea painted. I think this is the how is it called? That has a channel, Suez, right? So this would be Suez here. Again, these lakes that you won't find today. You see, 1, 2, 3.
Man-made for sure, yeah. different size pooling as well, with a massive temple that then continues over to other temples that geometrically are connected all the way up a water system.
All the way. As everything that is, let me zoom out because this map is a bit daunting if you don't zoom out. So let me try and show you another circular area that's completely unnatural for sure. Then we have this very peculiar. We see all these rivers and lots of temples within them. And you see the continuation of the theme of towers after tower after tower after tower. Look at here, another circular structure at the end of the road.
Surrounded and encased by specific stonework that's got these geometric said temples, structures, whatever you would like to call them, everywhere across a parallel lines.
Absolutely. You see another circular area, another one there.
So it seemingly the water was a functional aspect, not just a livable aspect to every single one of these communicable
yeah.
you know?
Because you can live everywhere. As long you don't need a riverway. If you can have underwater supplies of water and have a community. So you don't need to have an actual river system. It helps, of course it does. But look again on this next page of the map, and you see the continuation of every course of water is covered with towers everywhere. And to me, what I found most interesting is these two areas here. You see, Phil?
Yeah, the circular water area is definitely man-made, surrounded by huge towers, yet again, with that domed feature all across every single geometric aspect, isn't it, Rick?
Absolutely.
And it seems to be powered by these circular water functions, really.
Yeah, and you see, this is the only two circular patches of water that have waves on them. You see the waves?
Yeah.
The other ones doesn't have these waves. And here is just a curiosity. So some say this is related to the Noah's Ark, but we won't dwell on that today. Again, another interesting feature is this area here, when you see water of many colors, that is a description of John Preston.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if this fellow here was John Preston. But the fact that this artist decided to draw some things upside down and others upside, it's just, again, a key. You see another of gigantic wall that you won't find today.
And then again, behind that wall, such specifically placed dome temples that seem communicable, isn't it, Rick?
Absolutely. Look, the pattern.
I mean, it's astounding that this pattern continues in the most early mapping systems that we can see. So the communication theory that we've got is absolutely viable on what we're seeing here on every single ley line that has this water feature coming towards it, and with this tower or dome towers or multiple dome towered features.
Absolutely. So this is the last page of this map, and it also has many peculiarities, but the theme is maintained. As you can see, when you reach to river systems, you have two powerful ones and smaller ones coming down. But everywhere, tower after tower. Look, another circular area here.
Yeah.
And I missed the other one that I wanted to mention. Perhaps it's on the previous image. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Remember that I told you to keep that image in mind?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely sat by a temple as well. So very curious. Very curious. seems that everything's pointing towards functional aspects towards these temples surrounding the water, doesn't it, Rick?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think as a teaser for a much deeper study on this is, I think this will serve well. I hope people get interested by the curiosities of this map. It precedes, it must be said, it precedes the times of navigation. So it precedes the late 1400s and the beginning of the 1500s. So this precedes the European ships going around Africa and so on to can map it more accurately than they knew at the time. Apart from the old maps, of course, I'm not saying that we don't have maps showing that before that. I'm just saying that technologically, what historically we are told is that by this time they didn't knew how the globe was designed. They had to, the Portuguese and the Spanish had to map these coasts in order to give us the Magalhães map. So I hope everyone likes it. Phil, you want to say anything more about this astonishing?
I just think it's been absolutely astounding to be able to find proof on a map from 1375 that shows a global connection of these towers that literally span all over Iberia and Africa and surrounding eastern areas. You know, I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. So we can see now that these temples are geometrically placed along the ley lines, and with the allowance of water, that communication could definitely be an applicable factor. So we thank you very much for joining us on what has been an absolutely groundbreaking episode for the Institute for Natural Philosophy. We welcome all of you. Thank you ever so much indeed. And you guys take care from the bottom of our hearts, blessed be. And we look forward to see you on the next episode for the Institute for Natural Philosophy.
Absolutely, Phil. Thank you for indulging me in this conversation. Thank you for taking my invitation to do this. We appreciate it very much. To all the rest, a very fond farewell. Thank you for being with us.